without further ado, one thing I want to make everyone aware of, we have the chat room, and Amar, thanks to you for using it. You're the first one. But what we want to do is use the chat room to, how can I say, more tightly focus on your concerns, your needs, your specific expectations, hoping to come out of this meeting. So I'd like each of you to consider putting in the chat box, what do you hope to get out of this meeting? So in a broad stroke, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about electronic signatures in general, and then we're going to go into a specific case study presented by Radian, and then we're going to open it up for questions to everyone. So with that, please use the chat, tell us, your speakers, what you're interested in learning about. You can give us some specific context of what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, what some of your problems are, your needs, that sort of thing. So in general, I think we're pretty much all in the state of California. There may be some exceptions like Amar, but a focus here at the Sacramento ARMA chapter is what do we do in California, and most of that will apply pretty much around the world. But we have some specific issues, and a lot of our members are, they work for government, particularly the state of California government, because it's centered here. That said, pretty much everything that we're talking about is broadly applicable. So we can, though we're focused a little bit on government needs and solutions and how in that arena people have to try to reach their customers and respond to their customers' needs, which is primarily the public, is still, we can discuss things as they might apply to the private sector. So I don't see any chat questions, so you guys think about what you want to come away with, or if you have some special needs, you will help us make this a richer session if you do. I have one here that came through, records that end up residing in DocuSign when DocuSign isn't designed to be a records repository. Okay, we can address that a little bit later. Thank you for that. And well, the good news here is that all of your chats can be seen, I believe, by everyone in the session. So we'll mix and match and see if we can't answer all of them. With that, the general question about electronic signatures is how secure do they need to be? Because what is a signature? A signature is an electronic or an acknowledgement generally of your consent or your authorization. So e-signatures broadly is the ability to electronically achieve that. Now there are many different ways to do it. The state of California Secretary of State allows for two specific methodologies when the state government is transacting with the public. So if state government is not transacting with the public, then many more options are available to them to acknowledge permission, authority, that sort of thing. An example would be requesting a vacation and launching it through an application that routes around to the various approval levels. That doesn't require the Secretary of State regulations to be followed. You can do that a number of different ways with existing technology or new applications, that sort of thing. Now, DocuSign is being used as just as an example by the mortgage industry, the loan industry in general, by insurance companies, by just a whole wide range of business processes. Today, we're going to go into one specific process in the federal government using a particular software called DocuSign. But there are many ways to skin the cat, many ways to solve the problem. DocuSign is not the only one, but I'd have to say it's sort of like the Kleenex or the Zoom that we now see. Zoom has become the flavor that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people like, and we're using that today. DocuSign is an application that has been around for some time and is very popular. I see it a lot, but there are other things, and we can discuss that. So I think without further ado, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Niranjan, who is the, I guess, CEO of Radian. Correct me if I'm mistaken there. And he'll take over the meeting, and they're going to present their application to the federal government. But again, we can discuss this more broadly. The other thing is that Niranjan may be addressing some of the more general issues as they apply to specific installations that he's been involved in the state of California. So Niranjan, please take over.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity for us to present this and participate in ARMA chapter. So my name is Niranjan. I'm with Radian Solutions. We are a local company in Sacramento. We do work with the state of California. It's a few projects. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and let me go ahead and start with sharing my screen. And let me see if I can. So hope you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So so let me welcome everyone. Excited to be here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cover a few items about digital signatures in general. I'm going to also cover the state of California, what the requirements are, what the regulations are, and what's accepted, what's not accepted, and in general, what kind of technologies that they are focused on. And then I'll talk about the digital signatures, what our options are, and what the use cases could be. And then Sudhangi will take it from there. She will talk about the GSA's, which is the federal government's General Services Administration's digital signature solution. So she's been working as an architect on that project, where she has implemented a DocuSign solution, which is embedded in their business processes and rolled it out to multiple applications. So she'll be able to share some of her experience and knowledge from that perspective. So here we have introductions. So I think you have myself, Niranjan Hiras. Sudhangi, if you want to say hello to the attendees.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sudhangi Satrave.
Okay. So let's just dive into some of the topics that we're going to cover. So just like everybody, state of California has been, with the pandemic, everybody's working from home. And all of a sudden, digital signatures have become a necessity instead of good to have. So with that, around the March or April timeframe, they basically went from everybody being in the office, everybody having access to all the resources at the office, such as computers, printers, and scanners and everything else. And they had to ask all the employees to start working from home. And all of a sudden they realized that all the approval processes that they had in place, they had to be rethought about. So digital signatures was part of that, I guess, reinventing of how they'll complete their business on their work. So let me just get into what is a digital signature. The way state of California, Secretary of State is the one who manages or who comes up with the standards as to what is accepted, what is not accepted. So this department, Secretary of State, they came up with the definition saying a digital signature is defined as an electronic identifier created by computer, intended by parties using it to have same force and effect as the use of a manual signature. So, so that's basically how they define it. But the conditions that they have listed below, I think those are the ones that really define exactly what they're looking for. So just like a handwritten signature, where it has to be unique to that person. So in other words, nobody else should be able to create it or copy it, those kind of things. So basically anything that they create on a computer or an electronic device, it has to be unique to that person. So that's one of the conditions that has to be met before any digital signature is approved or a state of California agency may be able to use that. So that was number one. The second is it has to be capable of verification. In other words, once somebody signs a document, a third party should be able to verify if it is fraudulent, if it is signed by the same person, whether it is authentic, whether it has been tampered with. So the verification.
Niranjan?
Yeah.
Niranjan, sorry to interrupt you. Your slideshow is not flipping.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Oh, thanks. For some reason, okay. All right, we basically, sorry about that. So here it is. Let me just make sure, okay.
And one more thing, Niranjan, the question came in if we could get a link, the Secretary of State's definition or the link. So I don't know if that's that link that's
Right.
there.
So it is, the link is right here.
Okay.
So you can click on that and you should be able to, yeah, so that's a link that you can access.
And everyone, we will provide a copy of the slides in our presentation archive, so you'll get a copy of all the slides from today.
Okay, thanks, Sudhaki. Thanks for pointing it out because I did not realize that. Okay. So now coming to the second point, where it has to be capable of verification. So the third point is that it should be in sole control of the person using it. So in other words, they will not be able to share their account, how they sign it, what they're supposed to. I mean, nobody else should have access to this particular signature. So it has to be under sole control of this person because it is identifying that one person who's agreeing to whatever is written on that document. And the number 4 is, so once it is linked to data in such a manner that the data, if the data was changed, the digital signature is invalidated. So once somebody signs a document, basically the document should be locked or the content of the document should not be modified. And basically what that means is there has to be controls once the signature is complete. In that case, the document cannot be tampered with. So these are the 4 more important conditions that the state of California, the Secretary of State has stated in what will be recognized as a digital signature. Now, the next slide here. So what kind of technologies are acceptable? So which technologies will meet all the 4 conditions? So the first is public key cryptography. So this is, in other words, pretty much every single user, every single digital signature vendor, could be DocuSign, could be Adobe, or there are multiple other ones. So they create something called a digital certificate. And the certificate itself has unique codes for each signature. And there is a high degree of verifiability. So they can tie it back to the user, and there is easy way for them to verify that this is a particular user who has signed this document. So that is regarding the digital signatures. And then if you were to look at the second option, which is the second technology that the Secretary of State has accepted, this is the signature dynamics, they call it. The way it is defined is it measures the way a person writes his or her signature by hand on a flat surface and binding the measurements to the message through use of cryptographic techniques. So this is a mouthful, but in simple words, let me give you an example, the way I see it. So if you were to go into a grocery store, and when you're checking out your groceries, you are able to sign on a signature pad. Now that itself, it is using signature dynamics feature. So that is where you are signing it on a pad, and it is able to capture the signature. It's able to basically keep track of how you have the speed and the pressure or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure there will be some measurements that it will take. So it's capturing everything the user is, the way he or she is signing. The challenges with this particular option are it requires additional hardware. So for example, it requires a signature pad on the side to create the signatures. It also requires additional steps, including handwriting analysis, if somebody has to verify that signature. So, this usually occurs after the fact. It may not occur instantaneously. Of course, that person, in this scenario, that person is in front of you. You can check their driving license and those kind of things. But if you just were to consider looking at a signature and verifying if that is his or her signature, that may take a little more analysis than let's say PKC, public key cryptography. The third item is it's easier for average user to understand because it is a signature that they're signing, and it's a simple way for them to look at, okay, maybe they're signing their name or something to that effect. So they may be able to identify that this is the same person. Now, it is also designed to allow future verification. As we talked about, the verification is not instantaneous. It has to be done after the fact. So, so those are some of the things that are, now if you, the Secretary of State also says that if you need absolute verification, if that's a requirement, in that case, this may not be the best option. So signature dynamics is probably not the best option if you need absolute verification. In that case, you're better off going back to the public key cryptography.
Naranjan?
Yeah.
Just wanted to make a comment. So our time is going pretty fast.
Right.
And I think that this information can be looked at by our attendees maybe on their own time.
Sure.
You're going to be doing a presentation of a case study, and so
Sure.
just think you're running out of time.
Right, yeah. Okay. So I'll just run this real quick. So the section 16.5 it basically what organizations can use this. It is a state, it is the University of California, the county, city, and all that. And then let me skip this one particular slide here, and let me go back to what are the options, signature options. So we are used to the signature, print, sign, scan, and upload, that signing process. So that we are used to. So the second option that we have is individual digital signatures. And the third option, which we are going to cover, in fact, this is what Sudhagi is going to cover, is basically integrated digital signatures with your business processes. So that is what she will get into. So let me go ahead and introduce Sudhagi. Sudhagi, you can take over. You can get started with the presentation.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Niranjan. And good afternoon, everyone, again. As mentioned, I'll cover the GSA implementation of DSS. I work there as a solutions architect, and I have been involved with the project for almost 5 years. And we have implemented digital signing for them using OneSpan, which is a competitor of DocuSign, and also DocuSign. So we have tried implementing with 2 different solutions, and we have successfully implemented both the approaches. And I will go much deeper into it in my next slide.
Okay.
So the agenda for my slide is we'll start off with advantages of digital signature solutions, why customization is the key, who is using DSS, how long do transactions take in generally, and what are some of the DSS achievements in GSA. So, as you guys are already aware, digital signing solution entirely eliminates the lengthy process of print, sign, scan, and upload. It also includes better traceability. The solution uses a federal FedRAMP SaaS solution at its core, which is DocuSign in this case. It was OneSpan back in the day. FedRAMP is a Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program certification, which is mandatory for many public sector departments. This is highly reliable, secure digital footprint, which is also device independent, where you could use a document, you could basically sign a document on your iPad or your phone or your laptop, totally device independent. It has strong and flexible capabilities to integrate with other existing applications or business processes, and of course, save the time, effort, and ultimately cost. Besides that, it has some very, very creative features. It has the ability to change the signer midstream. Say, for example, there are 5 signers in a process, and all the 5 signers have to sign or approve this particular document. And signer number 3 is on vacation, which you realize only after signer 1 and 2 have completed signing. This solution gives you the advantage to change the 3rd signer midway and continue with the process as if it was totally uninterrupted. It also has the ability to send documents to a group of people. Say there are approvals that have to be done by anyone from a specific group of people. So signing groups is a feature that can be used to sign documents using specific group individuals. It also has the ability to assign some other person temporarily or permanent as a replacement. Ever so often, we are in a situation that a document for sign is sent out, and the person who sends it out is not aware of a certain executive's vacation plans. And this person is out on vacation. So custody transfer is a feature which allows the signer to assign someone else as his or her replacement during his or her time away. The digital signature makes it clear in the document and in the evidence summary that a certain person A signed on behalf of another person B. And this is the most important feature that is used by most of the executives in any organization. It also has business workflow capabilities. If your organization has complex process workflows, then this is a solution that you will greatly benefit from. You may have parallel approval process or a sequential approval process or a combination of both. And this is a solution that you would definitely benefit from. It has amazing capabilities of reporting and analytics data, and that could be used for budgeting or chargeback model capabilities. And the most important part is customized API integration. Most of the organizations in public and private sector prefer a very seamless experience, and they do not like to leave the comfort of their existing application to complete a process. And this is where customized API integration is very, very beneficial for them, because it seamlessly integrates and also saves cost and time for the application user. One of the questions that I've been seeing in the chat window right here is a lot of people are asking about content management or document storage. Custom APIs are pretty good with that, in the sense that you could integrate with DocuSign or with any signing solution for that matter, in a fashion that every time a transaction is completed and everybody has finished signing, you can save all the documents related to that transaction in a content repository like, say, Alfresco, or you could save it in Documentum, or you could even save it in Google Drive. And you could actually set permission profiles and add metadata to these documents the way you want or your organization likes. So yes, integration with a content management system is one of the hot topics that a lot of public sector entities have asked us about, and that is something that customized API we could definitely provide. So from the years of experience that we have had in the past with digital signatures, the one thing that stands out is the fact that customization is the key to success here. While vendors do provide basic APIs to make the most of the solution, customization to customers' need is what helps them see the true benefit. It has a wide range of capabilities. Integration with content management, as I said, custom templates with predefined fields, metadata associated with their documents, and so on and so forth. And the full potential is achieved by making sure that it is molded in a fashion that best suits the organization. And of course, we would also recommend user training on a periodic basis, because as and how the organization starts using it, users continuously need this constant training sessions. Here is some information about who all are using digital signature solutions currently. We have ad hoc users who directly access it using the web portal, or basically to self-sign something, sign and send it to another user, irrespective of the signers being internal or external to the organization. So those, we all know, that's pretty common. We have over 10 integrated applications involving contract approvals, vehicle rentals, corporate awards, new hire onboarding, legal office systems, and so on and so forth. One of the most sought after features that's being used these days is e-notarization with remote online notarization. As we all can imagine, this again has evolved because of COVID-19 limitations and the need to do everything remote if possible. And this is one other area where we are seeing a big upward turn when it comes to notarizations. The next couple of slides is just a couple of metrics. It indicates, let's look at the first slide, it indicates how many transactions have been completed within the last 9 months. We just gave you a subset of data for this presentation purposes. We have been providing the services for almost 5 years, but this is just a small subset of data. It is specific data related to GSA, as I said, and you can see that the amount of transactions have been increasing with each passing month, simply because of the comfort level that our end users have reached. There's word of mouth. People have been talking great things about it. And the fact that it is easy, the speed is really fast. And so everybody wants to come on board with digital signing. This next slide shows the increase in the number of users at GSA. And it's a very interesting graph. And I thought it would be really helpful for you guys to see here how it all progressed. So it started at a very modest number of around 520 users in 2016. And you notice that there has been a steady increase every year after that. It was expected. It's steady. 2017, 2018, you see it's gradually increasing. But what's impressive is that in the year 2020, the number of users exponentially took off. And it reached almost 17,000 users. For obvious reasons, that COVID-19 changed the course of our life, and in ways that we never thought that it would be possible. And this number by itself indicates the importance and significance of a digital signing solution for your department or organization. The slide here gives an idea about how long it takes to complete a digital signing process. You would be surprised to know that in GSA, prior to the introduction of digital signatures, applications gave them roughly about 90 days to complete, which was basically because of the manual cumbersome task of printing, signing, scanning, uploading, and that took time. And ever since digital signatures was introduced, over 70% of the transactions are getting done within an hour. That is amazing. Their worst case scenario right now is around 21 days. And this is enormous amount of improvement in the speed which this saves time, it saves money, and it's so traceable. So to summarize, here are a couple of slides to give you an idea about how we started with DSS and how far along we have come. Like with any public sector initiative, our first couple of years were spent in product selection, understanding the mission, the vision, the goals, followed by a long process of acquiring the authorization to operate, ATO as it's known. And once we had that, we started with a small set of initial users in 2016, about 500 plus, as I mentioned earlier. In the same year, we also decided upon the framework and architecture of the solution, because this organization required quite, they had this amount of customization that they had that you had to really take it very seriously. So in the year 2017, we did an enterprise-wide release of the solution and onboarded our very first customized application, followed by more integrations in 2018, and that you will see in the next slide. As you can see here, in 2018, we had more users and another integration completed, which by 2019 added up to 4 application integrations and more than 6,000 users. Bear in mind, each time we had more users, we had to provide training for these additional users to make sure they understand the capabilities of the solution. 2020 being the most exciting year for digital signatures with a whopping 17,000 users and a total of 10 application integrations, which, to be honest, we're extremely proud of and consider our biggest achievement till date. In conclusion, this is a solution which has been accepted not only by the users, but also by management for the sheer reason of how it makes their process simple, traceable, fast, and reliable. It would be an understatement if I say we had good results, because we actually had astounding results with unprecedented appreciation for the solution. To summarize, I would like to add that for this to be successful, it's important to start small and grow iteratively. Management support obviously is very, very crucial. Continuous sessions of end-user training is another key part, and it is necessary to understand the organization's current process and landscape so that a customized solution can be provided to them. So with that, we conclude our presentation. Are there any other questions that you would want us to address? We are open for questions now.
Yes, and so since we're open for questions, let's, if we can, unmute everyone. And I had a quick question. Conceptually, when you think about what a notary performs, what a notary does, why it's important, you ask yourself the question, well, how is that different from what the public-private key or other security methodologies or the electronic signature? In some respects, one could argue that the electronic signature is more secure even than a notary's stamp in many respects. The only difference is that one's physical and the other's not. And that's just food for thought for everybody. Why don't you take your slide down and let's put everybody's picture up, those who are putting their video up. And who would like to ask a question? Just jump right in.
So I still have everyone muted. I think if I unmute everyone, it's going to get really loud really quick. So if there's a particular person who'd like to need to unmute, if you put your name in the chat, to say mute me, and I will unmute you.
How about I just give you the name and you unmute?
Okay.
If they, and then they can say yes or no. Rebecca asked a question regarding records management e-signatures. I think that Sidonki did give a pretty good answer there, but it's important, I noted, that you can put the entire record into your repository and manage the retention in your repository. Whether or not DocuSign has retention management capability, I don't know. Could you speak to that?
DocuSign does have some standard retention policy, but they always suggest that they do not want to be a content management system.
Okay.
So they have some kind of policies in their configuration, and we could decide that for an organization on their need basis. It could be 6 months, it could be 3 months, depends on them. But most of the customers would like integration with a content management system towards the end.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you for that.
How would that happen? Obviously, we don't want records to sit in DocuSign, especially if DocuSign doesn't want to be used as a content management system. How then would we get them into like a SharePoint solution?
Sure. So that's a good question. And DocuSign has, and this may get a little technical, I'm going to try to simplify as much as I can. So DocuSign has connect services. Every time your organization's transaction is completed, which means all signers have completed signing, we get a notification from DocuSign saying that this particular envelope has completed signing. And we take it from them, we take that information from them, and it is a customized code behind the scenes, which is going to massage the data that we get from DocuSign, grab all the documents related to that particular transaction ID. It would include the signed documents and the audit trail associated with it, and grab it and put it in your preferred content repository. So it could be SharePoint in your case, and you may say something like, Sulangi, our HR department would like to store these documents in this HR folder in this particular format based on org numbers. And we could do that. We could take that metadata and we could put it in a certain format in that folder structure. And you can say that, Sulangi, our IT department wants to be in another folder structure in a different fashion. And we could customize it accordingly. But for the end user, it's going to be a very seamless automated process because this happens behind the scenes. So by the time they complete signing, in less than a minute, this transaction behind the scenes has already taken place and it's already in SharePoint for your users to see.
So would it be a connector between the two, or would there have to be a third entity between DocuSign and the content management system?
Yes, so there is going to be a connector between the two of them. So you will need, so our customized solution would reside on, say, in your on-prem server or something like that. And so our customized solution, basically, DocuSign is going to connect to that customized solution. And we go ahead and connect with your SharePoint server to make sure that you have your records.
Okay. Excellent.
All right.
Thank you so much for that answer.
Very, very good question and very good answer, by the way. Arvin asks a question about non-repudiation and audit trail features of DocuSign. I think you touched on that. Could you address that one?
Ranjan, do you want to speak to that, please?
So the audit trail?
Yeah, non-repudiation and audit trail features.
Okay. So now
we need to be fairly brief in our answers, and we can follow up because otherwise a lot of people have questions, so we might not get to them all.
Sure. So on the audit trail process, I know DocuSign has, it basically follows a certain standards. Now, in your particular case, I think what we need to do is look at it for your particular case, and we will be able to answer that question. And we do work with DocuSign hand in hand. So if you are unable to get the answers quickly, in that case, we may be able to reach out to the technical team at DocuSign, and we can get those answers for you.
Okay. We have a question from Galen, who has 3,200 employees. They're doing computerized training now. And the question is, how does he track that? So I'm not sure that's a DocuSign function unless you're trying to give certification or something that they were in the training. Who would like to address that?
So, Gail, is the question related to tracking a transaction in DocuSign? Like, for example, if there are 5 signers and you want to know at what point, say 2 days after you sent out your envelope, what point is it in the process of signatures? If it is something like with how many signers have completed signing, how many signers are still waiting on, then yes, that traceability is possible through DocuSign. They have amazing business process models, and you will know exactly at what time, as a sender, you will exactly know at what time, what is the status of that transaction, which signer completed, which signer hasn't completed, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I'm going to give an example. In the mortgage industry, I'm aware of, I've done some records management work there, and the National Mortgage, let's call it NMLS, National Mortgage Loan System. Anyway, what happens is every year, the people who are licensed through that have to get training, and that training has to be certified by the training organization. And so what happens, you go to the training organization, you sign up, you sign in, and as you complete each component, you get a, well, they control it very tightly. If you aren't taking some action within a certain period of time, they log you out, you have to log back in. And so that's a process where essentially computerized training, they're tracking it, and at the end they issue a certificate. I don't believe, based on what I know, that DocuSign is really designed for that kind of thing, and may require some other technology that can be implemented to do that. I'm going to move on to Edgar had a question, how to make a strong case for e-signatures. We could go deeply into that, but I think this presentation makes a pretty darn good case for e-signatures. By the way, Global e-sign was implemented 21 years ago, and UITA, which is the Uniform Electronic Transactions Act, I mean, is in all 50 states. Not everyone has adopted it whole cloth. It's not a mandatory thing, but those two together, basically 20 years, they've been on the books. People just have not paid attention to it. So there is a very strong case, both in terms of what was being presented about GSA and what they're doing, but also in law. There's plenty of backbone in law supporting electronic signatures. I'm going to move to Cora. Cora, you were asking about how to manage retention disposition, and I think that was answered, that you really need to move the information over to your content management platform. And then verification of signatures in DocuSign. Who would like to tackle that? Siddhanki or Niranjan?
So
I could speak to that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Niranjan. Yeah.
So what was the question? Verification of the signature?
Yeah. Essentially, how does it happen that DocuSign verifies the signatures? You know, what's the method? What's in the background?
So they basically use the certificates, and based on how you're logged into DocuSign and how what computer you're using. So there are all these algorithms that are running in the background. So based on that, they can identify, and they will, once somebody signs on a document, they basically record those keys, and those are saved along with that signature. So there is a process to verify, and the audit trail is based on that, the record that they created when somebody signs it. So it is, so everything is computerized, and basically what they call is signature digest. So when somebody signs it, in that case, they make a note of the signature, they create a certificate, they have a unique private key associated with that. So everything is traceable. So nobody else can replicate that. Hope that answers.
Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left. Thank you, Niranjan. Do we have any questions that apparently it's difficult for us to open all the mics. So if you have another question, please put it in the chat.
Yeah, there was one at the end that I saw,
Okay.
What is the most common challenges with implementing DocuSign? Do you have any sort of lessons learned about, just things that your customers are finding as a challenge?
Yes. So with any kind of SaaS solution, there's always certain degree of challenges that we face. DocuSign definitely does a good job with UI interface. They do a good job with security, and they do an amazing job with reporting and analytics data as well. Where it is a little limited compared to some other signature solutions that I've seen is with their REST-based APIs and their Java SDKs, which are specifically used for integration. So the weight falls on people like us who have to be the research folks here to kind of understand their code base properly and then kind of put a solution out so that it actually covers all kinds of exceptions, issues, or user errors that may happen. So the one thing that I think there are some limitations with DocuSign is definitely with their APIs and Java SDK, but there are workarounds. I always say there are 5 solutions to one problem. So there are always workarounds to figure it out and fix it.
So if I understand you correctly, Sudhanki, that this is a Java-based API set?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. That was a question that I had. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left. Yep, about 6 minutes actually. And I'd like to open this up more. We're going to have to work on our platform and the way that we do this so that there can be a little more interaction without the fear of cacophony of voices. But let me make a few announcements just to make sure everybody has the information. We're going to be doing a Records Knowledge Conference April 28th, 2021. It's going to be a half-day conference. We're planning it now. And this area of knowledge, electronic signatures, electronic verification of acknowledgements, all that kind of thing, are going to be one track in the Records Knowledge Conference. Again, April 28th, 2021. You might want to mark your calendars. You all got notification of this webinar via email, so we will be announcing and sending out invites for the Records Knowledge Conference. That said, we're going to be holding several other webinars like this. We're getting better at it, we hope, and bringing to you topics that we think are important for records management, but also for business process management. Another point to make here is that these slides are going to be made available to you through the armasac.org website. So that's ARMASAC.org. And that's where you'll be able to access these slides. With that, Sudhanki, in your experience, is there anything that you would like to offer to our attendees from your experience in the 5-year, that's a long time, integration into GSA? Anything off the top?
Yes. So specifically, I think we have to make it a phased approach. Start small and take your time to understand the current processes of that organization we are trying to implement. Usually, most of the organizations have some common ground. So we can come up with some custom APIs for that organization which fits their applications in general. And starting small, integrating one system at a time, and then growing from it is the best way to do it.
I think that's good advice. Well, we have 3 minutes left, and the webinar. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time. Don't ask real technical questions like, Sadanki, what API set would I use to achieve X? That's for another discussion. But if you have some general questions, Pete, please, let's use the time that we have. Anybody? Any suggestions that you might want to make for topics in our next webinar?
So I just changed it so that someone can unmute themselves.
Oh, all right.
So they can do it manually. That way, if people don't want to unmute, I won't force them.
Okay, all right.
So
Anybody
if you'd
gonna
like to
jump in?
Unmute yourself, you can.
I have a suggestion on running the participation of the participants. There's a feature called Raise Your Hand. We use this for our council meetings so that whoever's running the meeting can call on the
Good
people to
point.
speak. Yeah, so that's another way to make it more efficient.
Thank you for that. That's a good suggestion.
All right, so anyone can unmute themselves now. You have the power.
Hey, I just wanna thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to sort of join this session. Especially thanks to Niranjan and Sudangi for such an insightful session. I'm joining from London. It's already 10 p.m. here, but this has been great use of my time. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
Well,
it. Thank you.
We just heard that you're, for the next 6 months, you're probably not going to be able to dine out.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, be safe over there.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
We'll look forward to our next webinar we'll be announcing. And again, if you have any suggestions, put them in the chat or email us at ARMA. You can see our board of directors, that sort of thing. We'd be happy to take on some challenges in the records management area that specifically concern you. With that, if we don't have any more questions, I think we'll close the meeting. Anybody? Last chance. Okay, we need a Zoom applause capability here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And
Thank
Narayan.
you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chuck.
it.
Thank you, Chuck, for arranging this event. Really appreciate it. So we got a chance to share a few things from our side. So appreciate it.